Alright, we're in the middle of this lovely hurricane. Not the middle anymore, I guess, but whatever. So I snorkeled the 300. I'm going to give you a quick run to. I did a flex pipe snorkel. You can get this spa hose from Home Depot for like 30 bucks, I don't know. This spa hose comes with fittings on the end of it that are the exact size as the Honda 300, and they're pretty waterproof. I've verified it. So you just plug that into your air box. And yeah, run it up like that. Vent line's real clean and everything, right? So I'll pull the tank off now and I'll show you how it all does. But I mean, you can't even see the pipe, right? That's pretty good snorkelage. Very stealth. Once I paint this black, I might even leave it like that because it looks so good. But I'm actually not going to paint it. I'm going to get a big piece of heat shrink and put a big piece of heat shrink over it so it won't be as floppy. So that fitting that comes with the hose fits into the air box extremely well. If it'll focus, there we go. Clamps in there. You got to put some tape and some heat tape here, right? Because it runs next to the cylinder head. You want to melt it. No big deal. And then runs up here, does a loop. You want to put a nice big bend in here so when you steer, it has some room to flex and stuff, right? And then this helps you loosen this bolt. You can actually turn your coil out of the way. As for the vent lines, this is the most important vent line in the bike, your carburetor vent line. This is your rear diff vent line. There are two vent lines for the front brakes, the front brake drums, which are a joke. Delete those. And then all you have else is your front diff and your little transfer case vent line. They all come up in here. They get zip tied. They do a nice loop, right? A loop is key. So when you steer, it doesn't pull stuff loose. They do a nice loop in there, and then they come up the snorkel. Come up the snorkel and they point down. So when the rain comes, good to go. Okay. And what else you got to do? Oh, the crankcase breather. Crankcase breather from the factory comes up here, pokes in this hole out here. Well, it's enough you make a loop around the carburetor. Put a hole in your air box. One of these works great, or you can use a socket and heat it up. And you want it to cut slot, have it pressed up against the air filter like that. What that does is it lets any oil that comes out, it'll get breathed into the engine, which is good for lubricating the carburetor. That sounds stupid, but I'm kind of not kidding. And also, if you sink the bike, this will act as kind of a filter. So you know what's worse than having watering oil? Having sandy watering oil. So that'll kind of filter it. You can see Honda does the same thing on a lot of the old Formans and Ranchers. So you want to put that up against it. And then as the bottom of it, so you can't really see it. You see it right there? Right here, this little guy. There's a little flap valve, a one-way check valve. I do not trust them, so I take it and I squirt it full of Ultra-Ray and then put a piece of tape on it. And then that bottom carburetor vent, this is so if your carburetor overflows, it doesn't fill up your engine. Well, I just rebuilt this carburetor and I trust it, so I put a nice plug in it so I can pull it if I think it's running rich or whatever and see if this line has gas in it. This is just the bowl overflow for the carburetor, so I just plug it. The two most important vent lines, or I guess three really, are carburetor breather. Can't run without this. Water gets in that, it'll die. The carburetor bowl overflow, it'll die. And the crankcase vent. As far as the diffs, the transfer case, you can get water in those all day long. Guess what? This rear diff's going to get water in it because it's a 300 diff. This one's actually sealed pretty well, but I know it's going to blow up. I've got a better axle for it. I could have greased it, but this is going to work for this weekend. Also, spark plug boot. Mine was a little fucked up, so I wrapped it in electrical tape, and I filled it full of dielectric grease, because that's always a good idea. But yeah, I mean, everything else, you can see how factory this 300 is. No one's ever messed with the wiring. It's all factory fuses, all in the factory spot. Oh, man. Factory air filter. This bike is very, very cherry. All the vent lines from the factory location. No one's ever tried to snorkel this bike before, which is why I didn't really want to drill a giant hole in my plastic, so I did this. So we'll see how it works out. But next, I'm going to build a lift kit for it, so I'll make a video for that too.